devotees. Welcome to the 12 Mahajana series. In this second session, we are going to absorb ourselves in the wonderful glories of a second Mahajana, Narada Muni. So if you remember in our previous session, we mentioned that Mahajana means a great soul who can teach us, a great devotee of the Lord, who's been empowered by the Lord to impart instructions on the path of devotional service, which is the topmost method to attain the Supreme Lord. So Narada Muni is a wonderful personality. Let's see. So Nara means Narayan and Da means deliverer. So Narada Muni is the deliverer of the Lord and the Lord's message. There is a well-known Vaishnava song composed by a great Acharya, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, that glorifies Narada's service throughout history. Narada Muni bhajaya vina radhika ramana name. He is always singing the glories of the Lord as he plays his veena, offering the holy name to both saints and sinners everywhere in the Lord's creation. So Narada Muni can travel to any part of the universe, be it to the hellish planets or to the heavenly planets. He can go anywhere he likes. He's not restricted. So Narada Muni is actually a lifelong brahmachari. He's actually a wonderful singer and a musician. He plays on his veena. In Linga Puran, it is said that Krishna himself awarded Narada Muni a veena. So veena, as we can see here, is this instrument here that is a string instrument. Musical instrument which Narada Muni plays as he traverses the universe. Because the veena was a direct gift from the Lord, it is considered non-different from him. Narada, he then carries the Lord with him as he travels the material cosmos, delivering the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So he sings this transcendental sound and he enlightens devotees and helps everyone. So Narada Muni, he doesn't have a body like ours. He doesn't die. He has a spiritual body. He is known as Deva Darshan, and he can only be seen by demigods or persons on the same level with demigods. So Narada Muni is the greatest emblem of devotional service, and he is therefore the most learned and worshipable. In fact, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, among sages I am Narada. So Narada Muni, he wasn't always an amazing devotee. He had actually 3 lives. He describes his lives to his disciple Srila Vyasadeva in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So let's take a look at what Narada Muni, what he was in his first life. So he had actually been born as a Gandharva named Upabarhana. So Gandharva is an inhabitant of a higher planetary system, a higher planet called Gandharva Lok. And there the inhabitants are very beautiful and they sing very nicely and they can play instruments too. So Narada Muni, he was a Gandharva called Upabarhana. Because of his extremely handsome face and body, Upabarhana was very highly respected by the other Gandharvas. And when he was decorated with nice flower garlands and sandalwood paste, he was very pleasing to women. Because of this, Upabarhana was always bewildered by strong lusty desires, and since he was too attracted to women, he lived the life of a playboy. Once, the demigods held a Sankirtan festival for glorifying the Supreme Lord, and all the Gandharvas and celestial beings, the Apsaras, were invited. Upabarhana went there, surrounded by numerous women, and in their company he foolishly began to sing songs that proclaimed the glories of the various demigods. Because of committing these two offences, joining the Sankirtan party in the company of lusty women, and number 2, considering ordinary songs to be equal to Krishna Kirtan, the Prajapatis cursed Upabarhana to immediately take birth as a Shudra, so a lower class person, devoid of all beauty. As a result, Upabarhana was forced to be born as the son of a common maidservant. So now we're looking at the second life of Narada Muni, as he himself told his disciple. So Narada Muni said, "During the previous day of Brahma, I was born as an insignificant son of a maidservant. Once, during the 4 months of the rainy season, some exalted Vaishnavas came to the Brahmin school where my mother was living, and because she was engaged in attending to their needs, I also got the opportunity to render personal service unto them. Although impartial by nature, these great followers of Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy, because even though I was only a small boy, I was self-controlled. I did not speak more than required, and I was not naughty or interested in childish play. Once, with their permission, I took the remnants of their food, and as a result, all my sins were immediately eradicated. Because of this, and due to serving such great souls, the life of devotional service to the Lord became very attractive to me. In their association, I heard the narrations of Lord Krishna's transcendently attractive pastimes, and by such regular and attentive listening, my taste for such topics increased at every step. When this transcendental taste became very strong, my attention became fully fixed upon hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As a result, the modes of passion and ignorance vanished from my heart, allowing me to realize that it was only due to ignorance that I had accepted the gross and subtle bodies as the self. I loved those pure devotees greatly, and with very gentle behavior, I strictly followed their instructions. When those Bhakti Vedantists were about to depart, they instructed me in the confidential knowledge expounded by the Supreme Lord himself. Thus, I learned the art of using everything in the service of the Lord for the purpose of ultimately attaining his personal association in his supreme abode. After all, does not a thing that has caused a disease cure it if it is used therapeutically? While fully applying the process of devotional service, by Lord Krishna's mercy, I gradually became endowed first with transcendental knowledge of the Lord, then mystic opulence, and ultimately his intimate loving service. So Narada Muni said, I was just 5 years old and the only son of my mother, and thus she tried to bind me with the rope of affection. She wanted to properly look after my maintenance, but because she was not independent, she could not really do anything for me. One day, while going out in the evening to milk a cow, my mother was bitten on the leg by a serpent, and as a result, she died. I took this as the Lord's special mercy, for I knew that He always desires the welfare of His devotees. Even though I had no experience of foreign lands, I immediately left home and started for the north. After passing through numerous cities, towns and villages, farms, forests, mountains and valleys, I entered a densely dark and fearful jungle that was the playground of snakes, owls and jackals. Since I had become very hungry, thirsty and fatigued, both bodily and mentally, when I arrived at a lake, I drank the water and bathed to refresh myself. Thereafter, I sat down in the shade of a great banyan tree nearby and began meditating upon the Supreme Soul within, as I had learned from my spiritual masters. As soon as I concentrated my mind upon the lotus feet of the Lord, it became transformed due to transcendental love. As tears fell from my eyes, Lord Krishna appeared on the lotus of my heart. And upon seeing my beloved Lord, I became so overwhelmed with happiness that all my bodily parts became independently, spiritually enlivened. Indeed, I became so absorbed in that ecstasy that I lost sight of both myself and the Lord. The vision of the Lord's form provides one with a deep satisfaction that is beyond description. Thus, when the Lord vanished from my sight, I jumped up with great agitation, for I felt the great shock that one experiences upon losing something highly desirable. I wanted to see the Lord again so badly, but despite my efforts to capture Him with my meditation, I could not do so. Because of this, I felt intense disappointment and gave way to depression and grief. Upon seeing my sincere attempts in that lonely place, the Lord, while remaining invisible, spoke to me with a very grave voice just to mitigate my sorrow. The Supreme Lord said, "O Narada, I regret to inform you that you will not be able to see me again during this lifetime, because one who is not completely freed from all material contamination can hardly approach me. As a special favor, I have shown myself to you just to increase your desire to come to me. For the more you hanker after my association, the more quickly you will become freed from all material desires. Rest assured that by my mercy, neither your advancement in Krishna consciousness nor your remembrance will ever be impeded, even at the time of creation or annihilation. Thus you will attain my association in the spiritual world after giving up this deplorable material world." So Narada Muni continued, "After the Lord stopped speaking, I felt profound gratitude, and so I bowed my head to offer my obeisances unto Him. Thereafter, I began wandering over the earth, fully satisfied, humble, and non-envious. While ignoring all kinds of social conventions, I continually chanted the holy name and glories of the Supreme Lord. Thus, while fully absorbed in thinking of Lord Krishna, in due course of time, after having become freed from all taints of material attachment, I met with death. Instantaneously, I received a transcendental form that was befitting an associate of the Lord, just as lightning and illumination occur simultaneously. So here Narada Muni is now telling about his third life. At the end of Brahma's day, when Lord Narayan lay down in the water of devastation, I entered into his breathing along with the grandsire and the created elements. Lord Brahma rested within the body of Garbhodakashai Vishnu during his night time, which lasted for 1,000 cycles of the 4 yugas. Thereafter, I appeared along with the other great rishis that were born as Lord Brahma's sons, but unlike them, my appearance was completely spiritual. Since then, by the grace of Lord Vishnu, I have been traveling everywhere without restriction, both in the spiritual and material worlds, and while doing so, I constantly sing the glories of the Lord while accompanying myself on the veena that had been given to me by Lord Krishna. As soon as I begin to chant his glories, the Lord appears on the seat of my heart as if called for. So this is Narada Muni himself recounting his 3 lives. So that's how he achieved this spiritual body, and he became the emblem of devotional service. So Narada Muni, as we said, he is a great spiritual teacher. Narada Muni teaches the topmost process of God realization called bhakti, or devotion to God, and he is coming in the unbroken line of disciplic succession originating with the Supreme Lord himself. So Narada Muni, he is considered a perfect devotee. His teachings are found, the teachings of Narada Muni are found throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Narad Bhakti Sutras, the Narad Pancharatra, and these are great literatures. They embody the essence of selfless devotional service. So we can see, so what is a disciplic succession? A bona fide disciplic succession is one where the knowledge is coming directly from the Supreme Lord, and then moving on from a guru to a disciple, and then the disciple becomes a teacher and imparts the knowledge to his disciples. It goes on. So we can see here that this is the disciplic succession in which Narada Muni is. Krishna imparted the knowledge to Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma then imparted it to his son Narada, and Narada imparted it to his great disciple Vyasadeva. So Narada Muni is our guru because he's a spiritual master of Vyasadeva, and spiritual master Vyasadeva is a spiritual master of our disciplic succession. So we can see the disciplic succession there, going from Krishna to Brahma, Narad, Vyas, Madhava, Padmanabha, and it goes on. We can see Lord Chaitanya number 22 here, and then we go all the way, and Acharya A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is number 32. So he has translated this transcendental knowledge into English for our benefit in the Western world. So he translated it into English so we can access this wealth of transcendental knowledge. So actually, as we mentioned, Narada Muni is the emblem of devotional service, and he is the representative of God. Narada Muni is often considered the original spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada states in his commentary to the Srimad Bhagavatam 6.5.22 the immediate spiritual master is the representative of Narada Muni. There is no difference between the instructions of Narada Muni and those of the present spiritual master. So Prabhupada, he further refers to Narada as the father of devotional service. Indeed, Narada Muni is so dedicated to worshipping the Lord. He once Lord Krishna, feeling grateful for Narada's dedication and love, once asked him, "What can I do to serve you?" And Narada Muni replied, "I do not care where I may be, but I pray that I may be allowed to constantly remember your lotus feet." So many great sages have taken shelter of the lotus feet of Narada Muni. He is actually the spiritual master of Valmiki, the author of Ramayana. He's the spiritual master of Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, the Prachetas, Chitraketu, and we mentioned Srila Vyasadeva, who is the empowered incarnation of the Supreme Lord himself, who compiled the Vedic literatures, the Vedas, the 4 Vedas. He compiled them in written form. The Srimad Bhagavatam here, which is the literary incarnation of the Lord. He compiled the Upanishads, the Puranas. So Vyasadeva is the great personality. Vyasadeva is a disciple of Narada Muni. Actually, in this connection, there is in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's mentioned that the disciple of Narada Muni, Srila Vyasadeva, at the time when at the beginning of Kali Yuga, after Krishna had departed to the spiritual world, Srila Vyasadeva, for the welfare of the living entities, he compiled all these great literatures. So there is a wonderful description of Srila Vyasadeva and how he sat down writing all these literatures. But even after writing all of this down for the welfare of everybody, he was feeling very despondent. So Srila Vyasadeva, in spite of having worked tirelessly for the welfare of all classes of people, by compiling all these amazing literatures, he felt dissatisfied at heart. While thinking over the matter very deeply, he considered, "I have undergone all kinds of strict disciplinary vows. I have unpretentiously worshipped the Vedas, the spiritual master. I have perfectly followed all regulative injunctions, expounded the principles of religion by presenting the Mahabharata. Yet despite all these accomplishments, I feel incomplete." So just as he was regretting his defects in this way, his spiritual master Narada Muni appeared. Narada Muni said, "My dear son of Parashara, have you become satisfied by encouraging others to identify the body and mind with the self? You have no doubt personally attained perfect self-realization, and your great work Mahabharata is a wonderful exposition of all kinds of Vedic principles. In addition, the Vedanta Sutra you have compiled has fully delineated the subject of impersonal Brahman. Considering all this, why should you feel dissatisfied at heart?" So basically what's happened is all these Vedas and the scriptures that Srila Vyasadeva wrote down for the benefit of everyone. They were actually focusing too much on religiosity, rituals, what ceremonies to perform to beget lots of sons, or what rituals one should perform, say, to please different demigods, or how to live prosperously in this material world, or how to get liberated and merge with the effulgence of the Lord. So these scriptures, they were not really focusing on a very important aspect. So Narada said, Narada frankly, he explained to him, "You have not properly broadcast the sublime transcendental glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any philosophy that does not satisfy the Almighty Lord must be considered worthless. You have broadly described the topics of Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, but you have not properly delineated the glories of the Supreme Lord and the practice of Bhakti Yoga, pure devotional service. Those words that do not glorify the Lord are like a place of pilgrimage for crows. On the other hand, even imperfectly composed literature that is full of descriptions of the Lord's name, fame, forms, and pastimes is relished by great purified souls." So Narada Muni said, "You should have led the masses of people to the path of pure devotional service. For one who takes to such transcendental engagement is never the loser, whereas non-devotees cannot gain anything tangible." So he said, "My dear Vyas, you should meditate upon the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Then you should compile a special literature that will describe them in great detail, so that people in general may become liberated from material bondage simply by hearing it." So then, after giving this instruction, Srila Vyasadeva sat down to work, and he compiled the most amazing cream of all Vedic knowledge, the spotless Puran, Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes the pastimes of the Lord, devotional service, bhakti. So this is none other than Srimad Bhagavatam. The Bhagavat Puran is as brilliant as the sun, it is said, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna for his own abode. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali will get light from the wonderful literature. So that's how the Srimad Bhagavatam came about, on the instructions of Narada Muni to his disciple Srila Vyasadeva. So we can actually all help Narada Muni with his welfare work. We can encourage everyone we meet to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Just like Narada Muni goes around playing his veena and singing these transcendental sound vibrations for the upliftment of everyone. We could also help him by doing the same. So everybody we meet, we can tell them about the Maha Mantra. The Maha Mantra, it is said by the devotees, will enliven the planet, will bring us all a life of transcendental bliss, and help us to have a taste of the full nectar for which we have been anxious from time immemorial. So let's take a look now at Narada Muni as Srivas Thakur. So Narada Muni appeared in the age of Kali. 500 years ago, Narada Muni came on this earth. He appeared appeared as a wonderful personality called Srivas Thakur here. Srivas Thakur appeared to assist Krishna himself, who came down as Lord Chaitanya, in spreading the chanting of the holy names of Krishna to deliver us. So in this age of Kali, the Yuga Dharma is to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and Krishna himself descended to teach us this very simple method. He came in the golden complexion as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who we see in the middle. And when the Lord descends, his personal associates also accompany him to help him in his mission. So Srivas Thakur on the extreme right, he is none other than Narada Muni, who came to help in spreading the chanting of the holy name. And it was in the courtyard of Srivas that the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya began, full of singing and dancing. In this way, both as Narada Muni and as Srivas, he uses music, so Srivas will use music in the chanting the Maha Mantra to spread the glories of Krishna. So His Holiness Indradyumna Maharaj in his lecture quotes from the Hari Bhakti Vilas that, quote, even in his mother's womb, this Srinivas had the power to flood the entire world with the holy names of God. And Lord Chaitanya in a letter mentions that Srivas is the embodiment of devotional love. And Maharaj also mentions that Srivas's first words as a baby were Chaitanya, and his second word was Radha, and his third word is Krishna. So it's wonderful that Narada Muni came as Srivas Thakur. Actually, in the scriptures, it is mentioned that Narada Muni also became a gopi. He became a gopi, and this gopi is called Naradi Gopi. It's a most wonderful and sweet story, and it goes like this. So, according to the Narad Puran and the Skanda Puran and the Padma Puran, when Narada first heard that Krishna had appeared in Vrindavan, he wandered Vrindavan's 12 forests looking for any signs of his beloved Lord. After Narada heard the glories of Gopi Bhav, the exalted moods of the gopis, from the mouth of Vrinda Devi, the presiding deity of Vrindavan, an intense desire to lovingly serve the divine couple Sri Radha Krishna as a gopi in their most elevated amorous pastimes arose in his heart. He received a mantra from Lord Brahma, the Gopal mantra, and he began to perform meditation and worship in Raga Marga, the path of spontaneous attachment, following in the footsteps of the gopis. Vrinda Devi told him that he would need to adopt the mood and form of a loving gopi himself. This was possible, she said, only for the most advanced practitioners of spiritual life. And Vrinda Devi told Narad that he was one such soul and could effect such change by bathing in a nearby pond known as Kusum Sarovar. And Narada did as Vrinda Devi had instructed and emerged from the waters as a gopi named Naradi. He was thus able to see Vrindavan with new eyes and enter into Krishna's pastimes with the cowherd girls. Seeing Narada there in the form of a gopi, Sri Krishna requested him to stay at Naradvan and write Bhakti Shastras. Though Narada had been cursed by Daksha not to be able to stay in one place, Krishna informed Narada that because Vrindavan Dham is not a part of the material world, the curse of Daksha would not apply there. So, after another bath in Kusum Sarovar, Narada Muni changed back to his male form and returned to that place, Vrindavan Dham, where he wrote the famous treatise on devotional service known as Narada Bhakti Sutra. The Narad Puran says that the lesson to be learned from this episode is that even a sage as great as Narada must meditate on Vrindavan in the intense mood of a gopi to attain the highest level of love for Krishna, prema. And such a meditation is possible for only the most accomplished devotees. So that's the story of how Narad became Naradi Gopi. So let's take a look at a couple of pastimes involving Narad Muni. So Narad Muni, we said, had many disciples. One of them was Mrigari. So we'll look at the story of Mrigari now. So Mrigari was he was a hunter. So let's check. So Mrigari was a hunter. The problem with Mrigari is that he was committing a lot of sins because he was killing animals, but not fully killing them. He was killing them half and letting them flop about in an agony until they died. And so that's really, really cruel thing to do indeed. So one day Narad Muni was in the forest, and he was walking around, and he saw these animals flopping with pain. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam it is described that so he saw, first of all, he saw a deer first on the forest floor. It was pierced with an arrow and its legs were broken. And then he saw a boar as well, twisting in agony, and further ahead a rabbit also going through the same torment. And all this suffering pained Narad's heart. So he was wondering what fool is doing such gruesome things to all these helpless creatures. And then deeper into the forest he saw the culprit, and that was a hunter lurking behind a tree. With his reddish eyes, dingy complexion, dangerous expression, he looked like the Lord of Death Yamaraj, standing with a bow and arrow in his hands. Seeing the hunter bracing to kill more animals, Narada approached him. As Narada brushed through the foliage, all the animals fled. Enraged, the hunter was about to attack Narada with foul language. But the saint radiated such goodness and kindness that the hunter's temper cooled. Amazingly meek, he put a question to Narad. "O great saint, why have you strayed from the common path through the forest to come here? Just by seeing you, all the animals I was stalking have gotten away." "Yes," Narada replied, "please forgive me. I have come here to ask you about something that's troubling me. I've seen many boars, deer, and rabbits on the path, half killed and writhing in agony, and I suspect you have done this." "Yes, that's a fact," the hunter said, But you're committing great sins, Narada protested. If you must kill animals for a living, why not kill them and be done with it? Why do you leave them half-killed and dying in anguish? My dear sir, replied the hunter, my father named me Mrigari, the enemy of the animals. He taught me to kill animals and leave them flopping around in pain. When I see half-killed animals suffer, I feel great pleasure. Please grant me one thing, implored Narada. Of course, my dear sage, take whatever animals or anything else you'd like. If you want some animal skins, come to my house. I'll give you either a deer skin or a tiger skin. Narada Muni replied, I do not want any animal skins, but I do want something else. Just promise me one thing, that from now on, whenever you kill an animal, you will kill it completely. You will not leave it half-killed. My dear sir, said the hunter, what kind of request is that? What's the difference between half-killing animals and completely killing them? What's wrong with leaving animals lying half-killed? So Narada explained, if you leave the animals half-killed, you are purposely giving them pain. And by the law of God and nature, whatever pain you give to others, you must suffer in return. My dear Mrigari, you kill animals for your living. Now, when you kill animals, you certainly commit horrible sins. But when you half-kill them, your sins are much worse. All the animals you have tortured and killed will return the pain to you, one after another. They will torture and kill you in your next life and in life after life. Although he was grossly sinful, by associating with the saintly Narada Muni, Mrigari realized his sins, repented, and became purified. My dear sir, the hunter pleaded, when I was very little, my father taught me to half-kill animals. Please tell me how I can get rid of all the sinful reactions I've been piling up over the years. Now I give myself up to you and fall down at your lotus holy feet. Please save me from my sinful reactions. Please show me the path to freedom. Narada told the hunter, if you actually hear and follow my instructions, I can show you the real path to freedom. My dear sir, I'll do whatever you say. So Narada Muni then said to Mrigari, all right, first of all, break your bow, then I will show you how you can be free. What? Break my bow? But if I break it, how will I make a living? Narada assured the hunter, there is no need to worry, just follow my instructions. You won't have to kill animals. I'll send you enough food to feed both you and your wife. I'll make sure you have all you need. When you surrender to the Lord, He takes special care of you. Trusting the saintly Narada, the hunter broke his bow and fell at his feet, and he surrendered himself totally. With a kind hand, Narada raised the hunter and began instructing him. Just go back to your home and give away whatever you have to the Lord's devotees. Then, wearing only simple clothing, you and your wife should leave home. On the riverbank, build a small thatched house, and in front of it, grow the sacred Tulsi plant on a raised platform. The Tulsi plant is a pure devotee of the Lord and adorns his lotus-like feet. The Lord will be very pleased with you if you always serve his pure devotee with water and other things, and if you always chant his holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The Lord will be pleased with you if you chant his holy names. As for your living, perform your daily duties, and every day I'll send enough food for both of you. You can take as much as you need. Then Narad restored the half-dead animals. Saved from their ordeal, the animals fled. When he saw the pure devotee Narad work this miracle, Mrigari marveled. Humbly he bowed to Narad. At last, Mrigari returned home to carry out Narad's instructions, and Narad himself proceeded to Allahabad. So we can see that Narada Muni gave instructions to this hunter, and he actually, by following these instructions, worshipping Tulsi and chanting, this hunter became completely transformed, and everybody was amazed to see how a hunter had changed. He would no longer even kill an ant. So we can see here one day Narada Muni, together with some sages, they came to visit Mrigari to see how he was faring. From a distance, Mrigari saw his spiritual master coming. He was overjoyed, and he ran to pay his respects to his guru. But on the way, he saw some ants on the path, and he didn't even want to crush a single ant. So with his cloth, he was trying to bow down, but he couldn't. He was trying to gently clear the ants away with his cloth, clear them from the path. So we can see how amazing just a moment association with a pure devotee, how it transformed the life of Mrigari from one who would half kill animals and let them flop about in agony to one who wouldn't even cause any distress to who wouldn't even kill a single ant. Such is the power of Narada Muni, that he can transform fallen souls. So that's just one pastime. There is another one where quite a nice story where once Narada Muni became a little bit proud, and now the Lord doesn't really like it when his devotees get proud, so he always crushes the pride of his devotees. So we have this beautiful story here. The Lord crushes the pride of Narada Muni. So the holy sage Narad, once he was seated nicely in flowing robes, his hair piled up on his head. He sat in heaven in a fluffy white cloud. He was playing on his veena, his fingers moving nimbly across the strings, and the music flowed without ceasing. He sang in a heavenly voice, song after song, praising his beloved Lord Vishnu. So then a thought came into Narad's mind and heart. He was thinking, I sit all day playing my veena and singing the praises of the great Lord Vishnu, recounting his exploits and worshipping him. Surely I must be the greatest of the devotees of the Lord. And this thought, it warmed Narad's heart. He turned it over and over, played with this thought in his mind until he couldn't sit any longer. He arose from his seat and he made his way into the presence of the Lord. So he went to Vaikuntha Loka, where Lord Vishnu, resplendent in his majesty, was seated on his golden lotus throne with Lakshmi Devi by his side. And Narada Muni bowed low with his hands pressed in respectful greeting. And the Lord said, Narada, my faithful friend, welcome, welcome. Come and sit beside me and ask me your question. And Narada Muni said, O Lord, you know what is in my heart before I do. You know my question already. And the Lord said, yes, that is true, but I love my devotees to ask their questions themselves. So Narada Muni then asked, O Lord, with your divine permission, therefore, I will speak. My question is this. I sit day in, day out, joyfully singing your praises without ceasing. Am I indeed your greatest devotee? So Vishnu replied, yes, my dear Narad, you are indeed my greatest devotee. Narad was overjoyed to hear this until the Lord Vishnu raised his finger and continued, with one exception. O Narad, there is one other of my devotees who is greater than you. Narad was astonished and begged to meet and worship the feet of this wonderful personality who was greater than him, this great sage, this godlike being whose devotion to Lord Vishnu was greater than his. So Lord Vishnu continued, this devotee is no king or great sage. No, he is but an ordinary man, a humble farmer who lives on earth. If you are still eager to meet him, we will visit him tonight, but we must disguise ourselves as men. So Narad readily agreed, and in the blink of an eye, he and Lord Vishnu, disguised as dusty travellers, were standing at the front door of a farmhouse. They knocked on the door, which was opened by a young girl, who stared up at them in wonder. And then a voice from inside inquired, who is there? The girl said, 2 men. Praise be the Lord Vishnu, who has sent guests to partake of our hospitality and share our meal. O daughter, invite them in at once in the name of the Lord, came the voice, which was soon followed by the farmer himself. So the farmer bowed to the strangers and asked them to join his family for the evening meals, and Narada Muni and Lord Vishnu sat there together with his wife and his 4 children. And even the next day, a similar scene was there. The man offered a short prayer, and a simple meal was prepared, shared with the guests. And then the farmer left his wife and younger children to attend to household chores, while he, with his eldest son, left for the fields and cattle sheds. So the Lord Vishnu, disguised, and Narada Muni asked if they could observe the farmer at work for the day, which he gladly agreed. And after offering some few words and thanks to God, the 4 set off. The man, he started milking his cows, and he was humming a hymn of devotion to Lord Vishnu as the milk pails were filled, and his son was carrying them back to the house. And then after the milking, the farmer wiped his brows and gave thanks to the Lord once more, and then headed off to the fields to tend his crops. After a whole day spent in this fashion, he and his son, they were very tired after a long day's work, and they said a little short prayer together, and they prepared to head once more. They prepared to head home. So Lord Vishnu and Narada thanked him, and they were prepared to leave. They had walked for a few minutes, and they had arrived at the foot of a small hill, when Narada, bursting with curiosity, he couldn't contain himself any longer. He asked the Lord, "O Lord, forgive me, but I must ask you about this man whom you say is your greatest devotee. I see he's a hard-working man of virtue, kind to strangers, and one who cares for his family and his livestock, but his devotions were short and occasional. He said prayers in between his other activities, which took his whole attention. Surely my unbroken devotions to you are superior to his." Lord Vishnu looked thoughtful and he smiled. "Perhaps, Narad, you're right. Perhaps this fine fellow is not your superior or even equal in devotion to you." Narad beamed at this praise. "Yes, now that I think, perhaps you're my greatest devotee. Might I ask you to complete a task for me?" Lord Vishnu said. Narada was all eager to comply. Yes, he said, my lord, anything. I will fly to the moon and back. I will bring you precious jewels from the high Himalayas. I will journey to the sacred Ganges to bring you holy water. Just ask. You are in my heart and in my thoughts unceasingly. Lord Vishnu laughed and said, Oh, Narad, you are truly the prince of devotees. No, I have a much simpler task for you. And then he held his hand, and there appeared a large jar filled to the very brim with oil. So the Lord said, Take this jar of oil and balance it carefully on your head. Then walk around this small hill and don't spill a single drop. Narad was mystified by this strange request, but he was excited to prove his devotion. So he carefully took up this jar of oil and he put it on top of his head, and he began to take one cautious step after another. With his arms spread wide to maintain his balance, he slowly shuffled forward until, rounding the hill, he could see Lord Vishnu waiting for him. So when he arrived there, he triumphantly placed the jar of oil at Lord Vishnu's feet. There, he said, I didn't spill a drop. Wonderful! And how many times did you think of me? How many prayers did you offer to me? How many songs of praise did you sing to me? Narada Muni was stumped. Why, none, he said. I was too busy concentrating on the jar of oil. I was totally absorbed in making sure not a drop was spilled. So Lord Vishnu then said, Yes, you had your jar of oil on your head, which drove away all thought of me from your mind. But our farmer friend, with a wife to care for, 4 hungry children to feed, and guests to entertain, and a farm to manage, with cows to milk and crops to tend, remembers me time and again. He offers prayers, he sings songs of praise, and he remembers me again and again. Tell me, Narad, who do you now believe to be the greatest of my devotees? So Narad became humbled. He bowed low, and he praised the humble farmer as the greatest of devotees, and he thanked the Lord for his lesson. So the lesson that the Lord wanted to teach is not to be proud of one's devotion, one's service. Lord Krishna appreciates everyone's effort, and everyone offers their service according to their capacity and according to their ability. So that's one little pastime. So Narada Muni has many pastimes and qualities. He's actually mentioned in every canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. He's such an important personality in the Lord's pastimes. It is not possible to capture the greatness of Narada Muni in just an hour. So hopefully this has been a little glimpse of the wonderful Mahajana Narada Muni. We have learned something about, we've learned a few things about Bhakti by hearing his pastimes, his conversations. And let us help Narada Muni by chanting and spreading the glories of the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada.